Hello and welcome. This is the Paul Ryder tapes with a special bonus edition featuring the legend that is Bez.
So can you start off, we'll do it kind of chronologically, start off by how you very first knew about Paul and how you first met.
All right, well, I told that story in the church when I stood up and done my thing, and my very first meeting of Paul and Shaun is when they was in the car, what we used to call the egg, the old yellow Escort, Mark II Escort. I was up at the stocks and I can't remember what I was doing up there. At the time, I'd been up to a lot of mischief anyway. And next thing, Paul and Shaun pulled in the egg, and I seen two little heads about that big peeping up over the dashboard, and that was like my first meeting of him. And at that time I'd heard a lot about, obviously, because Gaz, Mark and Paul, we all went to the same school, so I obviously knew about the band, and they just got back from Amsterdam at the time, and they had the single Delightful on it. And to me, it was so amazing that people that, well, I didn't actually know Paul and Shaun, but people I went to school with, had had this record out. It was like amazing, you know what I mean? And and I was just so blown away, you know what I mean? And I actually thought they were superstars by that time. And they looked so cool. The pair of them, like, they're proper cool as fuck, you know what I mean? And then I actually went a few nights later, or days later, that I went down to meet Shaun, and actually met him properly nights later.
And did you think, oh, I'd like to be a part of that?
Well, you know what? At the time, the last thing on my mind was being part of the Happy Mondays, you know what I mean? Because I couldn't play anything, I couldn't do anything. I'm not like a musician, you know what I mean? And I was just like, I was just so happy that people I knew had got a record out, because it was like a dream beyond your grasp, you know what I mean? It's something that, it doesn't happen to everybody, you know what I mean? So it was like, it was absolutely amazing. I remember when I first went to watch the band play, it was at Corbier's, downstairs in Corbier's, and there was about 10 of us in there watching it, and it's not long after this first meeting in the Stocks car park, and that was the first time I ever seen the band play. And I was like blown away by it, you know what I mean? And it was only a little gig in Corbier's. And eventually I ended up joining the band at the Hacienda on the night, the Tube. It was, New Order was playing for the Tube. And the Mondays were supporting. And that's the actual night that I actually joined the band.
Oh, was it? Can you tell me about that moment? Like, what prompted you to get up on stage?
I've been telling this story a lot recently. So at the time, I just bought loads of black microdots and white microdots. And these microdots allegedly came from a thing called Operation Jeweler, which I don't know if you remember or not. But it was these kids who wanted to spike all the reservoirs in England and turn on the whole of England onto acid. And these acid was supposed to be leftovers from this operation. So anyway, we all done this acid on previous nights as well, because I lived in Eccles at the time, and we always having the first acid house parties as well. I'm jumping a little bit going back, this is before the said night. And I used to have a cassette player, and you could play two tapes at the same time, and you could get a drum machine going, put these two tapes in, and you used to get Horse to plug his bass. You could plug your bass in, and he used to plug his bass in and play bass over the top of it. So we used to have things like Penguin Cafe, Frank Zappa, some drum machine going, and horse's bass playing over the lot of it, and every now and again it made this magic moment like you've never heard before. You're like, oh yeah, that's it, you know what I mean? And we used to have some wild parties down there on these microdots. But yeah, so I eventually ended up joining the band because of these microdots. And it was one night Shaun was that off his head on it, and he turned around and goes, Bez, you're going to have to come on stage with me because I'm right off my finger. He needed moral support. And I said, fuck off, I'm not getting on stage, are you fucking mad? And after a bit of toing and throwing, and I said, oh, I had to jump on stage, obviously, you know what I mean? I was a sophomore. And on the way up there, I seen a pair of maracas which I grabbed, and I got on there and I was like off my head on this acid. I was giving it rock all, and I had when I came off, I had a hole the size of a 50p piece in my hand. And I went home laughing that night, but the funny thing is next day, somebody said to Shaun and Paul, when they was out on the egg, this girl come up and said to him, well, that was really nice of you last night, letting that kid with special needs on stage with you.
I've not heard that before. That's brilliant, brilliant. So what was that it then? That was your fate was sealed and they said, right, you're doing this every time from now?
I'm not too sure how keen everyone else was to have me, because like this was like a one-off, you know what I mean? And it was actually Tony Wilson who said that I should join the band, because I think I reminded him a little bit of Ian Curtis, you know, because he used to fucking do all that mad sort of freaky sort of dancing. And it was like Tony who kind of pushed the into the band more than the band did actually. Right. Yeah. But then and I've been on stage ever since, obviously.
Well, he was a visionary, Tony, wasn't he? He knew what he was doing.
Well, I can tell you another story about the egg as well, what I told in the church as well. And it's used in the early days, none of us had a carrot, you know what I mean? And Paul used to run the car. I don't know how he done it, but it was never even to the edge of empty. It was always half down the empty, you know what I mean? And that car, it seems to run like magic, you know what I mean, on thin air. It used to go everywhere. Anyway, it was that skin, we were starving, and we all come be to practice one day, and we decided, I said, no, go to Morrison's on the way home. And I used to go with Morrison's and fill a shopping trolley up with food and just walk out with it, you know what I mean? And on the way to the car, I don't know why they never stopped me at the side. It might be because I looked a bit mad, you know what I mean? So I threw all this food in the boot, but the security fella got Paul's number, horse's number. And next minute, there's a phone call saying that, you know, he's got to go to the police station and all that. And that's when I knew that, you know, we did this bond forever, because obviously he never grasped me up and he came up with some, you know, outlandish story why I was in the car with him, you know what I mean?
Wow, brilliant. So what did you think would happen with the band? Did you have any idea that it would reach the heights that it did? Like, where did you think it would go at that point?
Well, you know what, we used to sit there at night, because me, Paul and Shaun used to all live in the same flat in Boogstown, and we used to like listen to it, and we used to like, you know, having our dreams, and we always thought that was the next best thing since sliced bread, you know what I mean? And we was always never under the illusion, even though it was really crap, we always thought we was the best thing ever, and we had a massive dreams. And we always used to talk about having like a Porsche each with freaky 1, freaky 2, freaky 3 number plates and all that, you know what I mean? And we used to, you know, fantasise about, you know, our futures. So we always thought that, but unfortunately we never got as big as we dreamt.
So what other heights would you want to reach?
Well, we wanted to be like, you know, the biggest rock and roll band in the world, you know what I mean? Like, you know, legendary status, rock and roll, like no, we lived a rock and roll lifestyle, but we never like quite managed to, get that world like recognition of being one of the maddest rock and roll bands in the business.
No, I think you did. I think you underestimate yourselves. Seriously, I mean, who doesn't know about the Happy Mondays?
Honestly, we had these dreams what never quite occurred, unfortunately. The best manager we had was Phil Sachs, because he did it because he loved it, you know what I mean, and he loved us, he loved the band, he was a great person, and then after that he just went downhill, you know what I mean, for years. The funniest thing is I remember when we first got Nathan, and we went out with Nathan, and we was all sat in this little bus of ours, and he's supposed to be the manager, and he cops off with this bird on his first ever gig. And this is our first ever gig. He's gone out on the road, never been out on the road with us. Supposed to be our brand new, and the bird only nicks all the fucking first night's wages off him. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't get off to a better start than that, you know what I mean? And he just never, he never got better from that moment on.
You talked about it earlier, but that was one of the things I wanted to ask you. What was it like sharing a flat with Paul and Shaun in Boothstown?
Well, yeah, it was great in them days. It was fantastic because, we were young, we had fucking dreams, we was having great times, great parties, really enjoying ourselves. And of course, in the early days, before we could afford to have our own hotel room, me and Horse used to share rooms together as well. So we travelled the world sharing rooms together as well. I could tell you a few stories, but I better not.
So in the flat, when you were flat sharing, who did the cooking and who did the cleaning? Like, how did that work?
The flat was, when we left there, it was basically condemned, you know what I mean? You should have seen the state of the place. Like, there's fungi growing where fungi's never been seen growing before. One day we decided to do the pots, and we had to fill the bath up with Dettol, to clean the bath, the pots in.
Paul talked about that.
And the side mark, because the three of us had getting a bath, and the fucking towels used to stink. There used to be a thick, crusty side mark round the bath because no one ever used to clean the bath. It wasn't very, you weren't going to impress any young bird anyway coming in.
What happened when you brought birds back there?
Well, I think they was flabbergasted about the way we lived, you know what I mean? But I think they could forgive us because we were such good fun.
Exactly. Talk a little bit about the difference between Shaun and Paul in personality. I know they're brothers, then they have a lot of similarities, but they also have a lot of differences.
It wasn't so bad at first, but when there's a lot of ego going on, you know what I mean, and ego and money mixed together, and it was both really competitive, aren't they, Shaun and Paul? And I think that's where it started going, a bit west, because there was always a little power battle going on between them, which was you know what I mean? And the biggest mistake I ever made was when I've tried breaking up the fighting one day, full on fight. I thought, oh, fucking hell, I'm going to have to break him up. And I went in and Paul bit me thumb that hard, he nearly bit it off, and I thought, I said, oh, she fucking bite me fucking thumb, you know what I mean? And I never bothered getting stepping in between them again, you know what I mean? But yeah, they used to have fights all the time, and it was a love-hate relationship what they used to have going on with each other.
I mean, I think that continued really throughout their lives, didn't it?
And it's because they were both so competitive with each other, you know what I mean? And there's always chance to out-cool each other. It was the coolest.
Do you think the tension between them added to the dynamic of the band? Do you think without that tension there wouldn't have been the magic that there was?
It gave it an edge, you know what I mean? And and it was so normal. It wasn't even no, it wasn't until like with the split of the Mondays that it became a bit of a thing really. When the band left and formed, and that's when it became a proper thing. Then you know what I mean. But until that moment with the Mondays splitting up, it was just like no, it wasn't any big deal if you know what I mean. And it became a big deal when the Mondays split up with all the bad blood what was caused by that. And me and Shaun at I always thought it was a terrible mistake by the rest of the band. You know what I mean? They should have stuck on, because we fought tooth and nail to keep that band together at the time.
I thought it was just Mark and Gaz and PD that split off though. Paul was still, like in the early days of Black Grape, he was still involved, wasn't he?
He got involved in the early days, but like I say, all the bad blood stemmed from that moment. You know what I mean? And they're both, the pair of them, had terrible addictions at the time. You know what I mean? Which clouds everyone's judgment. You know what I mean? In no place to make any judgment calls of not any what made any sense anyway, you know what I mean? And they're both like in a terrible way, to be truthful, in addiction, which never helps either.
And how did that affect you? Like, did you worry about them?
Well, I used to worry about everybody. I used to worry about the whole band. I always felt it was my responsibility to look after everyone in the band at the time. It might not appear so, but that's what I felt my role was, you know what I mean? So, I cared and loved for the old band, and I did whatever I could, to make, things right, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So was it frustrating for you when you couldn't fix them?
Well, yeah, because the frustrating thing for me is that how nobody could see what they'd got, you know what I mean, and couldn't see beyond the fucking that moment, you know what I mean. And it was madness, like fucking hell, we're in a fucking massive band, fucking known right round the world. What is it? What fucking hell? You should be fucking really happy, you know what I mean, and that's what used to do me head in, because fucking I was loving it, mate. I fucking like buzzing me fucking socks off, and I couldn't understand why everybody else wouldn't be in the same felt the same about it all, you know what I mean. And then today I still buzz on it all. I love it, really proper love and buzzing on it, and think how fucking lucky we are to be in this sort of position. And I couldn't understand why they could never see that.
Why do you think it was that they couldn't? Because of the addiction?
Yeah, because of addictions, yeah, and unfortunately the drug of choice at that time makes you extremely selfish, and the only thing what you can think about is yourself, unfortunately.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the recordings. You were always very prominent. You were always there when all the albums were being recorded. You went to when Bummed was recorded, you were there in Driffield. Was it Driffield?
My favourite story about the band is actually the first album, and we recorded it with John Cale, 24 Hour Party, People Ask the Face Can't Spell White Out. And I was sat in the studios with John Cale, and all the band were going through the tracks what they were going to play. And John Cale was kept turning around looking at me going, what, like fucking... And I think always going on about the mad bass change though, like in Sarsa, it was like, and I thought, he's tripping him out, like we're doing the film. And he couldn't believe that as a band, imagine the bands today, signed to a record label who didn't even understand basic music 1, 2, 3, 4 time, and he couldn't believe he's going, what the fuck? He couldn't believe we didn't know what 1, 2, 3, 4 was, you know what I mean? And we used to go, it's like, the band used to start off like slow, get really, and like different speeds right through the whole song. And he actually taught us 1, 2, 3, 4. John Cale, that's what we came out with. And that whole album, it sounded fucking amazing, just because we done like, but you know, with today, you know, you'd never get that situation where you'd have a band, because the old band was self-taught. That's what was a great thing about the Happy Mondays. Like, nobody been taught at school, nobody been anywhere. The old band had taught themselves how to play an instrument. And that's why we didn't know the basics, you know what I mean? Because nobody had actually told us, you know what I mean? And that's what made the Mondays special, I think, you know what I mean? Because the whole thing, like, self-taught, all learned together and got fucking better together, you know what I mean?
Do you think if they had had lessons that the music would have been completely different and not as magic?
Well, yeah, I think, yeah, it's good that it develops the way it did, you know what I mean? And that's what gave it its unique sound, you know what I mean? And like I say, it was fucking unbelievably terrible at some times, you know what I mean? But you know, like I say, the great thing about the whole band learned together and developed together, and at the time, you know, there's nobody else making the music what we were making. Nobody could put the finger on what it was, and it had its childish. It sounded it had though in the early days that childish element to the sound. You know what I mean? Like, you know, fucking like. No, kids who don't know what they're fucking doing.
Therein was the charm, and that's why everybody was attracted to it, I think. It wasn't like your identikit record company fueled product, was it? Do you have any memories of recording Bummed with Martin Hannett?
I do, yeah. It's kind of faded memories, but I do have memories, and that was another great album. Again, working with Martin, was up in Driffield. It was height of the ecstasy explosion, so the whole band was on really good vibes then, you know what I mean? Everyone was just eating ease, you know what I mean? Fucking the addictions hadn't even entered into the equation then, and that was probably the most enjoyable it was to be in the Mondays. Massive following, all the lads loved us. We had this like little bit of magic going on, and yeah, it's a great album, Bummed, as well. I really like the Bummed album. I really love it when we play Bummed tracks on tour.
Because there aren't many that you do play generally, are there, from Bummed, I don't think.
Well, we did play the thing, I can't remember, to be truthful. Yeah. My recollection is also quite faded. You know, it's not the best at times. It's the same, you can remember it, you weren't there. I think it's quite true.
Brilliant. So you went to LA. What was that like when you were doing Pills and Thrills?
Yeah, well, it was amazing. Well, before we went out there, we was on an 8-week tour of America. And that whole experience, you know, being in America, touring, and it was leading up to going to LA to record the album, and we just had the most amazing time. Was working with Osborne and Oakenfold, who created this whole new sound, who understood what the Mondays, you know, our vision of what we thought we was. They made us that band, you know what I mean, with that album. You know, everything what we had imagined, but couldn't quite create ourselves what we thought we was. They made it that, but they actually being out in LA, we had big convertible cars, like driving around thinking we're Lord of the Man, and we had such an amazing time out there, you know what I mean? And the great thing about it as well at that time, that the band was getting on great as well. There was no heroin involved, I don't think, at that time, recording that album. And it was really like a magical moment for the band. 8 weeks in LA, imagine 8 weeks in LA, you know what I mean? That could have been really dangerous. And I remember when we finished the album was playing, we had a pool party at was at Oakwood Apartments, which quite famous place in LA. You know, all the wannabe actors are staying there. It's like, so we're in this like sort of infamous place in Burbank, Burbank. But it was infamous place, weren't it? You know what I mean? There's a lot of starlets or semi-stars. It was all going on there, you know what I mean? Yes, and we had a great, unbelievably good time out there making that album.
Can you talk a little bit about Derek and the importance of him in the mix, especially in the early days?
Yeah, well, both Derek and Linda, so don't forget Linda as well, because she used to make the corned beef and tomato butties for us all when we all went out on the road. And without Horseman, there would have been no Happy Mondays. He was the true driving force behind it all, you know what I mean? And his love of his sons, he'd do anything for his sons, you know what I mean? There was nothing he wouldn't do. He took the band on, drove us all around, you know what I mean? And a lot of the time, in the early days, it costed him, it was coming out of his own wallet, you know what I mean? We didn't even make enough in a gig to pay for the van, the fuel, you know what I mean? Remember buying us all bacon butties at the server. And he honestly, he was such a great man. And he done such a lot. Like say, there would be no Happy Mondays if it weren't for Horseman.
Yeah, yeah. How do you think it was for Shaun and Paul having their dad around in those early days?
Well, you know what? I think they really appreciate it. Obviously, no, you take the mickey out of him, you know what I mean? Like, thinking, but I think they absolutely loved having him there, you know what I mean? And, you know, he wouldn't, and so having such a dad was so supportive, you know, with your lads, you know, if you don't appreciate that, then what can you appreciate, you know what I mean? He was like so important to the out, and he used to do everything. He rode, he did the sound, drove, you know what I mean? He's like, he did absolutely every job involved with the Mondays. Saw man, drive the fan, did the sound, did the roadie, he did everything, you know what I mean?
I remember in Iceland when I very first met everyone, seeing him standing in for Shaun in sound check singing, like, and he sounded like Shaun.
Yeah, well, he did sprawn from his groin, didn't he? So.
Do you remember that trip to Iceland?
I did. That was like you said when you first met Paul. But that was quite a mad trip, to say the least. You know what I mean? And the funny thing was, they had a warehouse party in a warehouse full of stock. And obviously, I had loads of mancs in there, like, oh, fucking hell, I'll have these, oh, yeah, you know what I mean? And, it was like a miniature crime spree went on at the time as well. But, yeah, it's a great trip, swimming at the Blue Lagoon. It was one of those memorable, gigs, you know what I mean? A weekend in where was it? Reykjavik, yeah. No, yeah, it's one of them trips that you don't forget.
And then Barbados. Tell me about Barbados.
Well, Barbados was quite the same thing, because we went out there because there was supposed to be no drugs there, and obviously there was a fucking pandemic going on. And I can tell you a really funny story though. One night, me and Forrest had been smoking fucking thingy, and we decided we was going to go to the Six Roads to get some more. And on the way, we seen Sean's car on the road, upside down in the middle of the road. I said to Paul, like, pull the car over now. So we pulled over. I said, we'll get the battery, you know, because we could swap it for crap. So we both got out the finger, popped and he'd already took the battery with him, and I remember Horse as well on the last day when we was leaving, went and got a load of gear laid on just before the morning that we was leaving. which was a bit naughty of him, but you know, when these must. But yeah, it was great because the great thing about that album was we got to work with Chris France and Seema Weymouth. And I actually thought it was a really good album. It was one of the best albums because it didn't have that modern production what everyone wanted. But when you listen back, you know, it's a great fucking album. And to get to work with Talking Heads, you know what I mean, with some of your heroes as well. And you know what the funny thing is, I've actually been back to Barbados on holiday. And I can't believe what a great place it is. And you know, when you're being quite normal when you're there, you know what I mean, instead of being insane.
Okay, so how did you feel when the whole thing fell apart in, was it 1995 or 96, when there was the infamous record company meeting and Shaun went away and didn't come back?
Yeah, it was a really sad time, like I say, where when you split up with your band, there's nothing quite like I say it's even worse than splitting up with your missus, you know what I mean? It's that heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, you know what I mean? It's like no feeling. I can't describe it, no. The nearest I could describe is like splitting up with your missus after 10 years and you find her cheating. It's that sort of feeling, you know what I mean? And that's how awful it actually feels, you know, when you come to that moment. But yeah, but somehow through thick and thin, through, you know, we've been wrote off as a group of people that many times, and we keep coming back.
So in 1999 was the first reunion after that, wasn't it, when Simon Moran got the band back together?
Well, I can't really remember, to be truthful, on that. And at the time, I think I might have been treating it as like a smash and grab, you know what I mean? I really didn't give a fuck because I didn't see anything here. I thought, I wasn't going to join at first, you know what I mean, go back. My heart wasn't really into the thing, you know what I mean, because, no, I felt like, no, we still hadn't really made friends either from the breakup either, you know what I mean? And it felt like a bit like a smash and grab, you know what I mean? And like I say, it's a funny thing, but I'm glad we did it anyway, you know what I mean? And it got the band, sort of back on sort. But I can't remember how many times we've split up as a band now. I've lost count and reformed, you know what I mean? Because I've been in every reform and you can think of involved the Mondays, you know what I mean? But yeah.
The big one was 2012, like the last time when it was all the original lineup. And I don't know about you, but I know that Paul found out about it when somebody emailed me a copy of something that had been written in The Sun saying the whole band was getting back together with the original lineup. No one had asked Paul.
We've never had great management. It's never gone as it should be. And it's always been chaotic, to say the least, being a member of the Happy Mondays, and that's the only thing I can say. And to be truthful, mine's so fit, I can hardly remember, a lot of this shit. I can't remember the ins and outs of everything.
Do you have like a best memory of being on stage or of a particular gig? Like, is there? I mean, you've done.
Well, for me, my favourite all-time greatest gig was in Rock de Rio. For me, that was the Mondays at the maddest, you know what I mean? We had such a great time playing in front of and because we was in the hotel with Guns N' Roses, and all it's actually caused fucking chaos. Like, you won't believe how fucking mad we was, you know what I mean? Like, there's no words can describe it. And we was actually put in a hotel with Guns N' Roses away from all the other acts because we were deemed as the two mad rock and roll bands. And Guns N' Roses were quite, they're rock and roll but in like a proper rock and roll American way, you know what I mean? They look like your fucking typical rock stars, where we look like just a bunch of fucking some knobheads from somewhere, you know what I mean?
Did you interact with Guns N' Roses?
We said hello to him. I've actually said hello quite a few times to him in over the years. Yeah. But we didn't really hang out in any sort of way. I don't think we was cool enough for him.
And you went to meet Ronnie Biggs. Tell me about that.
We did, yeah. We met Ronnie Biggs, great shame. Well, it was nice to meet somebody who plays such a, an historical moment in British history. And yeah, we met Piers Morgan, who actually said I spiked his burger, but I never did, you know what I mean? But I did smoke sniff an ounce of coke on the plane next to him on the way home, and he pretended to be asleep all the way. And I was under a blanket like that, me and Paul Davies. Yeah, but I suppose that's a story you shouldn't be telling, really.
Oh, brilliant. Do you remember when Paul left the band? It was in 2000 when you'd got back together again. He just got an Oasis support tour, and he'd just given up heroin and just had a baby. And he decided that if he carried on in the band with Shaun, Shaun was getting on his nerves so much that he'd relapse, and so he left.
A lot of this shit what went on, honestly, I have absolutely no recollection of. I've wrote books and I fucking can't remember what's fucking gone on, you know what I mean? It's really bad. And it's because we're all fucking, we're fucking pretty out there, every last one of us, you know what I mean? But fucking a lot of the Mondays I've actually got no memory of, which is not fucking good really, you know what I mean? It's not a good state of affairs. And I think Shaun's the same as well. I just cannot recall fucking so much shit, you know what I mean? I've been told things what have gone on, I have no way, I've had no idea, you know what I mean? I fucking like stuck in a ignorant bliss even, you know what I mean? That is the mad thing about being, for me being in the Mondays. How fucking little I actually remember of it.
Well, at least you know you had fun doing it. That's the thing.
Oh, we had fun. We had lots of fun. The saddest thing for me was when I got the phone call the morning Paul died, you know what I mean? And Amelia's going, Ben, you gotta call me. My dad said no. And I couldn't believe it, you know what I mean? And I rushed right down to the house, you know what I mean? And he was still laying in the front room. Mark had tried doing some mouth to mouth on him. And that was so shocking to see one of your best mates who you've spent lay there dead. And it comes so unexpectedly, doesn't it, death, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I'll never forget, his face, you know what I mean? Because he looked really angry to me, because he looked like it wasn't his time to go, you know what I mean? And it was like fucking so mad. And then my dad died about 5 hours later as well, which was it was double death in one day.
Wow, that must have been really, really hard for you.
But the great thing is how all the band, everybody was there, you know what I mean? And he had the greatest funeral service I've ever been to. It was so amazing, you know what I mean? It was like a fantastic send-off for him, weren't it, you know? If he was there, would he be so proud of his service, you know what I mean?
I know. So how do you feel he'll be remembered? Like what's the kind of legacy that he's leaving behind?
Well, he's going to be remembered for his bass lines, isn't he, for the Mondays, you know what I mean? He wrote some incredible, powerful bass lines, heavily, the backbone of the Mondays, what we was, the bass lines were like really big, powerful bass lines.
And as a friend, how will you? What are the memories that you'll carry with you?
But being an happy Monday, you know what I mean, and the experience what we've gone through together, and you know what I mean, and that is so special, you know what I mean, to be a part of the band, the Happy Mondays, and a group of lads from Salford with fucking had fuck all but a dream, and we pursued that dream together and had amazing highs and lows along the way. But that for me is nobody can take that away from us. And I always say I'm an Happy Monday till the day I die. That's who I am, an Happy Monday.
What do you believe? Do you believe he's around? Do you believe like he can?
Well, you know what I believe myself is we live in a circle of life, you know what I mean, and life is never ending, and that's what I believe, that your spirit is this bit of life what we're living now is just a very small part of life, and life goes on, and we live forever. That's what I believe. I don't believe that we die. I believe that, you know, our existence is forever and it goes on forever, you know what I mean? And we're going to the circle of life. Not quite sure what the circle of life is, but I think we live forever.
Do you think that you'll see him again sometime? Like, do you think?
Well, you know what, I just don't know. It'd be nice to think that you did run into your family and friends when you die, you know what I mean? But I just can't say with anything. But I do know, like, life is forever. That I really feel that in me blood. That and I believe also that souls over time continuously cross paths. You know what I mean? Through centuries and thousands of years. Have you ever read a book called Cloud Atlas? Cloud Atlas. And it deals with that sort of issue, you know what I mean? And over centuries and that, these same people's paths are always crossing. And that's what I feel that, you know, that is the case. And I feel that through what the lives we live, our paths will always cross, because we're being brought together. And that's what I feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Cloud Atlas, I'll look that up. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's an amazing book.
Is there anything else any stories that you want to tell about Paul? Or
I could do, but I wouldn't want to tell some of them, so I'll just keep them to myself and to my own memories, you know what I mean? But just like to say that, no, we fucking, no, really loved him like a brother, you know what I mean? We're part of a band, we shared so many moments together. Like I say, we used to share rooms right across the whole of the world, you know what I mean? And and it's always me and us, sharing together. And we shared so many moments.
Thank you so much for talking to me. Really, really.
All right, Angela. Well, I hope you got what you got. You know, happy.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it.
We're playing out with the track that Paul did with his French collaborator in Los Angeles, Eddie Granfier. This track is called Rocket Man, and it is just amazing. Please join our exclusive club and become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/the Paul Ryder tapes, and please help us to keep these episodes coming. But even if you can't afford to sponsor the show, you can still sign up and join the club. Go to our website, which is paulryder.tv. There you will find our shop with some really cool Paul Ryder and Big Arm merch, and apparently the mugs are really cool, as well as some links to our socials. Please subscribe to the podcast and to this YouTube channel and give us a nice review and rating. We would really appreciate that. If you would like to listen to the next episode right now in podcast form, it's dropping literally this minute on all the podcast platforms, and the video version will premiere right here, same time, same place, next week, 8 p.m. UK time, Sunday, and I will be in the chat as usual, even though it's New Year's Eve. Yes, I am dedicated to you all. Okay, thank you, of course, to the mighty, the amazing, the lovely bears, and thank you to you all for being here. But the biggest thanks, of course, has got to go to the man himself, the late, great Paul Anthony Ryder. Have a really wonderful Christmas, everybody. And if you're missing someone this year, extra special love goes out to you from me. Okay, have a great week. See you next week. Lots of love. Bye.
Don't know who I am or what I'm doing.